Joining me now on the Knicks Film School Podcast, the first-time guest, I'm very, very excited to welcome aboard. He is truly one of the cult classic figures, I will define him, in NBA history. If you watched him play once, he left an indelible image on your mind. I feel like I was lucky enough to watch pretty much his entire career. We'll get to that in a bit. The junkyard dog himself, Jerome Williams. How you doing, my man?
Let's go.
I love it.
What's happening, man? We're back in the building.
I love
school. What we doing? Well,
what we're doing is we're talking to a guy that, like, man, you know, it's like, yeah, you watch superstars and superstars do their thing, but sometimes a role player, and I hope you don't mind that I call you a role player, because, you know, the stats were never there, but you popped off the court. Like when I watch Josh Hart now, it reminds me of when I was watching you back in the day. And I know your story. I know you shot up 7 inches, you know, later in life, where it was like, oh my God, I have this opportunity now. I got to make the most of it. Tell me the genesis of the junkyard dog. Like, how did you become the guy that you became known for?
John, so first and foremost, thanks for having me on your show, number one. Shout out to all my Knicks fans and the dog pound that's out there barking right now. Got to give them some energy. But to answer your question, role players, that's what I embraced as a player. You know, it's something that you learn, you know, when you're going through the process.
Okay.
And the process is transforming from collegiate, which is sort of semi-pro. When I was playing, now we can really call it what it really truly was. It was semi-pro basketball, playing with Hall of Famers like Allen Iverson, All-Americans like Othello Harrington, and other potential NBA players that did make it. Don Reed, Jahidi White, Victor Page could have been one. George Butler could have been one. So semi-pro basketball was where I learning how to fit in and play a role in basketball. And for me, that's what I embodied, and that's what I kind of took on, the ROLE. Relentless, opportunist, leveraging everything. John, there it is. There's a secret sauce to the dog pound. I put it in my book. It's coming out this year. It's just explaining from elementary school how you just change roles. Like right now, you're the Knicks Film School coach. You're the podcast king.
Sure,
that's your role right now. But that's not everything that there is to John. And same thing with me and other NBA greats. If you're able to compartmentalize this game of basketball in a way that can bring energy to your fans, your organization, to your teammates, you are doing the ultimate. And you just hit on one of my favorite players for the Knicks, Josh Hart, because that guy right there is a utility knife. He can come out there and do multiple things to help the team win. And he's all about winning. It's not about the stat sheet. It's about winning. And that's what ROLE players do. And that's what we're here to do, man. So let's talk about, and shout out to Sidwell, because that's where he went to high school, right here where I'm at. And they're recruiting my son right now. So,
good luck.
There you go.
I'm happy you talk about role, and I'm happy you talk about kind of evolving and all of that, because you've had quite an evolution since you hung him up. I can't believe it's been 20 years now this year, which is just absolutely wild to me. I feel like it was yesterday I was watching you. You've done stuff with player development. You've done stuff with coaching. You were at the forefront of the whole NIL thing a few years back. And I know that is a very important thing to you. Obviously, basketball without borders, obviously media. Just we could sit and talk about this for hours, but like, what has been your journey, you know, over these last couple of decades as you've evolved, you know, from an NBA player into what you are now?
Well, you know, one thing I thank the Knicks for was just giving me a platform to expand on my different capabilities. When you come off the court, it's a very scary thing because you do not know what your next thing will be. And it's one of the hardest things that players talk about all the time.
Had you thought about that before stepping off the court for the final time?
Well, you always think about it. It's always in the back of your mind, but actually doing it and living it is totally different, because my body wakes up in the morning at 7 a.m. routine, and I'm supposed to be in the Knicks facility at 7:30. And that's because you got to get there 3 hours before practice. You got to be ready to, get yourself in shape. You got to lift the weights. You got to go through stretching. There's a whole routine. So when you stop that, you've been doing this for over a decade, so it's sort of just your body chemistry is totally off. And you're saying, okay, where do I fit in all these things now that I want to do? So the first thing I was always gravitating towards, what you brought up, shooting for peace, giving back to the community, making sure that I was doing something for someone else, because that's how I got to the NBA. So that was number one on my list. And as I started working through that, that was a pretty easy thing because I had already been doing it. But now I'm saying, okay, what have I learned? And media was one of the things that I interned while I was playing. So NBA inside stuff and doing the sideline reporting. So I was like, all right, well, let me go into that. So what MSG was like, JYD, anything you want to do? So I started executive producing shows. So that was a great way to segue, but also have, big brother helping you out.
Sure. Yeah.
Not, throwing you to the wolves. So I get in there, get my feet wet, learn a little bit. Now I'm able to start to think about other genres. So this year we have a new show coming out, Family Business, features my son. He's a future pro, so he's going to be out here doing what he does because you have so many young sons of, Carmelo Anthony, Allen Houston, Jamal Crawford, just to name a few Knicks.
And I know Allen's involved. You've gotten him involved with shooting for peace as well.
Absolutely. And so has Carmelo Anthony and Jamal Crawford, teammates. We're constantly, our sons are same age, playing against each other.
That must be so special.
It is. So, you go through these things and you just have such an appreciation for the journey of being able to change roles, being able to extend your career through the game of basketball and be able to help, tons of people along the way. You mentioned NIL. Well, if professional athletes or former professional athletes, I should say, don't get involved in helping to teach things around NIL and helping to teach this next generation as they kind of go through it, because they're going through a process right now. And it's a tough one. It's a tough mental process. It's tough on schools, coaches, parents, especially the student athlete, and being able to divulge what the next level looks like while they're going through this process is key, because a lot of these young kids are starting to make some mistakes when we see the development and how you're able to evolve if you want to ultimately make it to the ultimate stage, which is MSG, the NBA.
Yeah, I had Chris Jenkins on, speaking of Josh Hart, one of his former Nova teammates, back a few weeks ago. And he was talking about how that's his new passion, educating young players, young people about how they need to take, because it's the way he put it to me was, it's kind of like a part-time job. Put aside the playing, just dealing with all of the NIL stuff off the court. And I imagine, nobody's telling there's no class, right, for these kids to go to and to teach these kids. So what is your message to young people coming up now through the system with these opportunities? Like, what's the first thing that you would tell someone if you were to speak to them?
First thing I would say, education. So first and foremost, financial literacy. Mm-hmm. You have to know because they're coming with the checks. Right? So the money's
here,
there.
Take it.
So we gotta just say, whoa, pump the brakes. Let's look at financial literacy as your first level of education. Most kids don't get this in school, John. They don't. They're not offering it. And guess what? There are kids right today getting NIL deals in middle school. So you you have to put on a different hat as a parent, as an educator, as a coach, to say, you can't put these kids in a box. You can't assume they know. You can't assume that the parents know. But if you give them a tool, so at shootingforpeace.com, we have free financial literacy education for all student athletes and all students, period. So then whether you're an athlete or not, but trust me, this is for athletes because I was one, and it's free. We have a partner in EverFi. I pay for it. We got community partners that help out. But guess what? All they got to do, go on the link, sign up, and boom, you're going to get the courses for free. Help you. It'll help you. It'll help your families. It'll help, once you tell someone else, it'll be able to, they just go viral in terms of, these student athletes. That's the minimum they should do. And then also on the same link, there's mental health and wellness. See, nobody's talking about what these athletes need in terms of what the holistic approach should be. Yes, they're going to be trained. Yes, they're going to get coached. And the best ones, the best of the best, they're going to move up that ladder. But without the proper knowledge, they can get taken advantage of at a much younger age. Remember how many NBA players, ex-NBA players that said, man, I got taken advantage of. But that was after college. That was after they had at least grown into some sort of adulthood, was old enough to vote. They were old enough to do a lot of things at that point where, hey, they might have made some mistakes, wrong turns here and there. But now these students can do it at middle school, and, things can happen. So we got to get them going about education now. That's why I'm also happy that Carmelo put together that AAU board that I'm on with Allen Houston, another New York Knick, Eton Thomas.
Oh,
so
sure.
We're on the AAU council to help with these different aspects of trying to improve the game for these young people.
I promise you we're going to get to actual basketball talk, but I just have to ask, because the energy that you bring to this, it's just so evident from talking to you. Anyone could go and watch videos that they have on, again, Shooting for Peace. I want to make sure I get it right. .com. Yeah. And like you had it was the same way when you were on the court. Was that you when you were like a little kid? Have you always had this like endless reserve? Because it's astonishing.
John, let me tell you something. This is the secret to having endless energy, right?
Please
stay around some young people. You get around old people and you're going to be old. Old people do old things, but young people, they take risks. So, we don't have to take those risks, but you know what? If you stay around there long enough, you'll get loose. Last night, I kid you not, I was playing in an AAU tournament for alumni high schools. So I'm one of the alumni, supposed to be 35 and up. So I'm one of the elder statesmen.
Yep.
I end up playing 6 games in one day. That's dangerous. I don't put that out there lightly. I was just at the New York Knicks alumni game. My teammate was Jamal Crawford. Jamal was out there making moves that looked like when I was playing with them with the Knicks. Same step back, behind the back, making and draining threes. Shout out to all the Knicks fans that came out to support the alumni night. And my other teammate, Allen Houston, took home the MVP. What was I doing, John? I was playing my role, doing what I do, barking with the dog pound, even got up on the rim one time. But last night, I never knew I could play 6 games in one day. Dog pound went to new and greater heights because of the training and the consistency and the mentality that you have to have, because you got to be able to roll with it. Roll with it. That's the slogan. You know how mama mentality? I say dog pound says roll with it.
I got to get it. You got to get that on a t-shirt, because we got to, I have a feeling there's some Knicks Film School folks who would buy it. I would certainly buy one in every color. You just said training. Do you still train regularly?
You have to. Life is short. Like the minute you stop moving is the minute you getting ready to get old as dirt and be wondering why your body don't work. You got to move. Now, I don't do what I used to do, but I do a little something. That way, when I try to call on my body to do something that in my brain says, you can do that, See, the body has to be able to say, well, yes, you can, but there's going to be some consequences and repercussions. Now, if I played 6 games yesterday, technically, I should be on a stretcher.
Yes.
I should be on a stretcher right now with some ice and some, electrical probes hooked up to my system to bring it back. But I'm not, because I at least do a little something. I coach basketball. I try to guard my son for like 2 to 3 minutes. I run up some steps just to give me a little cardio. That's it. That's all I do. But you got to be prepared, because when you walk around with dog pound on your back, people test you. You're going to get tested in these streets.
Well, you were tested a lot when you came into the league, because you're 6'9", so size of a power forward, and yet you damn near averaged 10 rebounds once, and when you almost won 6th Man of the Year award. You had a very particular style that I feel like some people might look at and say, oh, well, I don't know that would that translate today, because if you're not a center, and so honestly, even if you are a center, you need to shoot it. I think you would fit more today, or you'd be more valuable today than you were back then, because this is my sense, and I want to know what you think. I just don't see players out there doing the stuff that you did, the little things that contribute to winning. You mentioned Josh Hart. I think Josh Hart's one of them, but I think those players are dwindling. Do you get that same sense?
I do think that they're dwindling. I remember, when you had a JYD type-esque on almost every team.
Everybody had one.
Everybody had a different, style or whatever. So you look at, I was just with Ben Wallace at the Hall of Fame the other day.
Well,
and Ben and I were teammates in Detroit before I was traded to Toronto. And we used to work out together. We, go through the same drills together. And I was a starter. He was, becoming a starter. And it was just like, whoa, you had both of us on the court at the same time. And you're basically figuring out how this duo can go. And obviously they made a trade, but he had a different style. His style was more about, shot blocking. I was taking charges, right? Getting steals. So but under the same vein of not only energy from the teammate perspective of setting screens, diving for loose balls, like you said, being able to score off the ball when your teammates need to give you that pocket pass, because we were highly efficient at our field goal percentages.
People don't. I'm looking at them right now.
Like, you were shooting over 50% from the career. Like, this is, and we did both take jump shots. We could shoot enough to keep people honest. But
spacing was different back then. You didn't need to always be out to the 3. You could, mid-ranger was very valuable.
Exactly. So you take that into account and you look at today's game and you say, wait a minute, a guy that's really just strictly out there for the team and looking at every opportunity to be relentless in how he approaches, how he's going to help the team win on every given night. Those are special type of players, Anunoby. He's another, another guy that is very similarly clothed. I think that Draymond Green, is a guy that awesomely has fit in with a guy like Steph Curry and been able to make sure he molded his game to fit all the needs of that player. That's why I love playing with Allen Houston, Jamal Crawford, Stephon Marbury when I was playing, because those were my guys to get open, to help, to make sure I did everything I could to help the team to win.
I'm going to get to that Knicks team that you were on in a second. I do want to ask, because you mentioned obviously the trade that brought you from Detroit to Toronto. You were so tailor-made for that Pistons team, or at least what the Pistons were starting to become. And I know you've spoken very openly about how you cherish the trade to Toronto, because you really, I think, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I feel like you've spoken about like that was, you found a home there in a way. And, you went to the Eastern Conference semifinals after you beat the New York Knicks in 2021. I won't let you forget that. And you had a great semis. Do you ever think about the road not taken? Like if you had stayed in Detroit, what that might have been like?
Well, they were definitely rebuilding. They were definitely in a phase of trying to get the right pieces in place. I think Joe Dumars did a fantastic job because, see, after my trade, he brought in Chauncey Billups.
Yep.
He brought in Rip Hamilton. So had I stayed, I would have been playing the Corliss Williamson role.
Yep. Who you were traded for.
That's what I was traded for. So that would have worked. That same philosophy would have worked. And, you know, I would have figured all that out because there was some great teammates. I mean, Mr. Big Shot became Mr. Big Shot, who's now a Hall of Famer. Congratulations, Chauncey Billups. I was just at his induction as well. And championship quality team. Beat the Lakers. Beat Kobe and Shaq. That's
in their primes.
In their primes with role players. Tayshaun Prince, Ben Wallace, Rasheed. Like, come on. That group right there with Rip Hamilton. Shout out to Rip. You know, Rip just called my son a couple weeks ago to have him play with his son Parker.
Oh wow.
They're out here balling. Family business. I'm trying to tell you, John. I'm in these streets heavy. Trust me.
I love it that you're just name dropping left and right. It's the people that you came across in your time. You know, the fact that you're still so close to all of them. It really because from the outside looking in, I perceive the NBA as a fraternity. Do you look at it the same way?
It becomes a more tighter fraternity as you get older.
Really? Interesting.
Yes, because when you first, you know, enter retirement, it's sort of like almost like only the people you played with. Then after about 5 years, it was like, oh, the people you were really competitive with, it starts to shift a little bit and you start to say hello to them. And after 10 years,
you didn't used to say hello to them.
And you start to like shake hands and hug them. And after
great.
15 years, you're like, bro, where you been, man? You know, because then they got kids, you have kids, and you're like, that's your son. Oh man, we got to get them together. You know, so it's like that. But yeah, it is definitely a fraternity. It's something that I'll never forget. That's why I'm still very active in trying to help other guys make it into this fraternity, give them all the nuggets I can. Because it's, you know, someone did it for me. I had Patrick Ewing. I had Dikembe Mutombo. I had Alonzo Mourning. Like, what type of Hall of Fame, you know, and John, did you know this? Dr. J, Julius Erving, told me a year after high school I was going to be in the NBA. So it doesn't get any, like, my pool of people that told me I was going to be great is just, you know, I hands down, I got some heavy hitters. Not to mention, I have Hall of Fame coaches up and down.
Yes.
John Thompson, Hall of Fame coach. First coach, Doug Collins, Hall of Fame coach. Lenny Wilkins. Yep. Not only Hall of Fame coach, top 10 all time. Top 10 all time in coaching.
So Lenny, the year before you got here, obviously helped guide the Knicks to the playoffs. And then your season, I remember that year very well. It started off pretty promising, and then it kind of went sideways. You know, you talked about those Pistons teams, how everybody played their role. Everybody, you know, knew it, and they fit in so well. When you're on a team where the pieces are not adding up, like, you know, they're supposed to, like that, you know, the Knicks team you were on, is there a moment when you realize that, like, oh, this is not, I've been on teams that it goes in the right direction, and this is not one of those teams? Like, talk to me about that experience.
You know, it was rough, but in Toronto, we had Lenny Wilkins as a coach, and we were 15 games out of playoff spot.
Okay.
15 games. We had 18 games left in the season.
Okay.
We had to win 15 out of 18 games
to get in. Now, Lenny Wilkins had went on a serious 20-some game losing streak to get to that point. We had injuries. We definitely didn't have the type of talent that the Knicks had. But they stuck with Lenny. Lenny was consistent the whole way through. And he said, guys, we're going to win 15 games and get this last playoff spot. Now,
I can honestly look you in the camera and say,
okay,
I had my doubts. As positive as I am, I'm looking at the schedule. I'm like, shoot, 18 games. You know, these are playoff games. You know that the teams are coming to try to get in. So, you're lucky if you win half. 9 would have been great. So we won 15 out of 18 games, got into the playoffs, and took Detroit to game 5.
And that's just self-belief. That's what that came down to?
That came down to self-belief, getting on a roll, and just being like, nobody can stop us.
Do you?
So when I was with the Knicks.
Yeah, that's what I was going to get to.
Scenario. That's what I'm saying. It was Lenny Wilkins. I had been there before. I had seen it, and I didn't have this much talent. So I'm saying, it's going to click. It's going to click. And the moment I realized it didn't click was a West Coast swing when we were a few games out of playoffs. It was like the West Coast where we had to win 4 out of 7 games.
Okay.
4 out of 7. That's all we had to win. And then we're still on track to make the playoffs.
If I recall correctly, was this in like late January, early February, somewhere around there?
Yeah, this was no. This is more like March.
Oh, this is late. Oh, so this is, I think, okay. So you're late March.
This is the final West
Seattle,
Coast
Portland, game. Golden State, Lakers.
And we lost to who? Seattle and Portland.
Yep.
Those were supposed to be the wins.
The gimmies.
Because it was like Phoenix and somebody else on the back end. Like, come on, man. We lost them games. I was like, whoa. No.
You knew it.
Yeah.
I'm looking at it. I'll be honest with you. I don't remember the game in particular, but I know the Seattle loss came in overtime. I know. So as fans, we'll sit here, watch a devastating loss that you feel like, oh my God, we got to get this win, and you lose it. And then sometimes you hear like reporters or stuff say, no, the players, they put it behind them, right away. It's harder on the fans than it is on the players. I'm going to ask you, is there like sometimes a moment where you lose just one game, and however the game goes or whatever, maybe it's because it's a bad team, where it can sit with you and it can linger in a way that is not ideal?
Well, I wouldn't say it lingered, but I remember like it was yesterday. I got a call on my phone. One of my teammates said that there was a party in Seattle.
Oh.
Because it was a certain teammate's birthday.
Okay.
And I said I couldn't go. Much as I love him, tomorrow's important. Need this. Can't. We lost in overtime. That's a game we should have won. That you go back to any of them teammates and you ask them, should we have won that game? And they'll say yes. Well, that gets you, build your momentum, because it's a back-to-back. It's not like, you get that one. Hey, okay. Gives you a little momentum. But we had to battle overtime. Now we get in later.
Yeah.
So instead of a, 2 a.m. arrival, you're a 4 a.m. arrival. Well, the wheels are the wheels. Yeah.
And that Portland team was no great shakes that you lost to in the next game. I'm hearing you talk about that, and like there were some lean years here with the Knicks, and I think fans, speaking for myself, like we would always look for someone to blame. I look at this team, try to transition to now, and they have Jalen Brunson, who was just, I think he came second to Steph Curry in the the GM's poll, like who are the best leaders. When you have a situation like that where you have someone that's like, hey, I want to go party instead of getting a good night's sleep, is that the sort of thing that is on the locker room to corral that? Is that on the coach? Is that just on the organizational culture? Like, how do you get that part of it right?
Man, and first of all, that's one of the hardest things, because again, the guy's birthday, who it was, I love him. So it wasn't like, sure, what are you doing? It was just like, dang, man, I want to celebrate. This is your day, but I'm business, business first. I would love it to have celebrated it after, we had gotten our work done.
After a big win.
That's right. But I think a lot of that has to do with my chemical makeup. My birthday is May 10th. Anybody who knows birthdays in May around that time is Mother's Day. So guess what? Half of my life, my birthday really hadn't been very important. I just be honest with you. Shout out to all the tourists out there know exactly what I'm talking about. Moms come first. So, birthdays aren't like a huge part of my life. So people like, hey, I got a birthday. It's like they party for like a week. Some people even a month. I'm like, yo, it's one day. Sometimes they'd have to celebrate my birthday one day after or some way before. I'm like, hey, it's all good. Moms come first.
Jerome, I was going to save this for later. You are talking to someone whose birthday is also May 10th.
Really?
I was born.
Oh, stop it. You already know.
I was born exactly a decade after you. You were 73. I was 83. And
okay.
And it only gets worse when you get older, because then it's not only about, oh, it's your mom. It's about your mother-in-law. It's about your wife. And then eventually it's like,
I mean,
everybody,
on, man,
the whole thing.
That's
here. Not your day.
We're just living, man. That's so exactly. So when when they say party, I'm like, I don't even know what party looks like on her birthday, really. So it's like, come on, I remember my wife, she was, when we first got married, she was like, oh, we got a party. It's a party. I'm like, party? Well, I was like, I guess.
It is funny because I really always have the same mentality. All right. I can't keep you too much longer. I want to talk for a minute about the current Knicks, and I would love to be able to do this again throughout the season, because we
have to, man. We got to talk about the book, got to talk about the TV show, got to talk about the film school, man. We got to break this stuff down. These fans need to know how the Dog Pound looks at this film work.
We're going to make this a regular thing, but before we get to that, the season is starting tomorrow. The Knicks already are dealing with a couple of injuries. We got Landry Shamet that actually had to waive because he dislocated his shoulder, which is very unfortunate because he was going to make the team. You got Precious Achiuwa down. So you have a group going in to face a tough opening slate, and they're already down bodies. What do you think the mentality is in the Knicks locker room right now, knowing that, if we're going to pull this out, like, it's probably going to take a little bit more on us, meaning the starters, right? The heavy lifters. Like, how do you enter a season knowing you're already kind of down a few chips?
Well, at the end of the day, we know what this team is made of. And, the addition of Karl-Anthony Towns is huge for the Knicks. I think losing a Julius Randle and replacing with the Karl-Anthony Towns, that, to me, in my eyes, is a plus. I talked to Kat, prior to he'll give you the story on how I acclimated him to the NBA at NBPA's top 100 camp.
You give it to me. What's the story?
Well, I had went through a plethora of young players who were thinking, "Hey, I'm ready. And I started kind of just taking them out one by one. And I got to Karl. Okay. Got to Karl. And when we played, it was like all the gym just surrounded us. And that hadn't happened with other, kids at that time. And basically it turned into blood sport, because there were no fouls.
Oh.
Okay. And he understood how to play that way at a young age. So I was very impressed. I was like, yeah, this kid is like, he's not calling fouls. And he's challenging me to make sure I don't score. So I was like, okay, this is understandable. So the game was to 5, and it's 4-4. We're battling. It's like sparks flying. And I said, I beat every kid here. This kid, I need to think about whether or not I'm going to let him win. Did I let him win? Heck no. But he won anyway.
I was wondering where you're going with that. Okay.
So he beats me, man. The crowd, the kids go crazy. They surround him, and it's pandemonium. All the legends that were watching, they were like, take it to him, dog, like you did the rest of them, And it just, he got me, and I was like, all right, young fella, you're going places. Next year, he spends a year in Kentucky, and goes into the league as the number one pick. So, I did my job. Now he's back with the home team. So I don't expect big things, because every time he sees me, he sees blood sport in the stands. He knows what time it is when the dog pound shows up on that front row. So I'm only expecting W's.
Do you let's say that I'm going to let you go. You talked about, we know what this team is, we know what they're about, the toughness and the grit that they've developed over the years under Tom Thibodeau. They've switched around some pieces, Karl being one of them. How, and I'm talking to a guy who's obviously changed teams. How quickly can it come together where the whole becomes greater than the sum of the parts, even with a lot of talent here? But still, how long is that going to take?
Well, I don't think it should take too long, because I was able to see a preseason game, looking at the chemistry on the floor, looking at the camaraderie on the bench, looking how everybody's interacting. You got familiar faces. Mikal Bridges gels with former teammates. Okay, so that's a huge plus. Karl's coming in, replacing a major piece. So he's not in any way, he just slotted in. Plus he brings a, great long range shooting, a little bit more, consistent passing, I believe, is another plus. And he does protect the rim. So that's another plus. Now, OG last year got hurt towards the playoffs and then kind of came back a little bit. Now we get a full healthy OG. Okay, so you take that mix right there with a Jalen Brunson, who's just ridiculous when it comes to team, captain, leader, everything, intangibles, knows how to do and what to do in the fourth quarter. I just saw him pick teams apart in the fourth quarter, in playoffs, at the Garden. That brother, he got my vote, and his dad was my teammate in Chicago, Rick.
Oh my goodness.
Who's on the sideline.
That's right.
So I just I'm on the sidelines, I'm watching Knick games, I look at Rick, give him a nod, wink, wink, let's go. Okay, tells his son, and I'm on the court like, yep, watch this, what's about to happen? Jalen's getting ready to come down here and bust somebody real quick at MSG. So Dog Pound kind of has the inside scoop on a lot of different things. Also got Othello Harrington on the sidelines helping to coach the big fellas. So I got my informants in place. It's like the CIA. Since the Dog Pound CIA is in business, we're doing it. We got this thing. And I got Jamal Crawford calling the games. Stop. What are we talking about? What else you need to know, John?
Here's what I need to know. Can we get you back on here a couple times throughout this year? Because I cannot get enough of your insights. I cannot get enough of your energy. And I think as a lot of fans think, this might be a special season for the Knicks. There is no one that I would rather talk to about it than you. I'm so thrilled to be able to get you on here. I love everything that you're doing. TheShootingForPeace.com. Again, anybody who wants to go visit that site for more information, anything, and the book. We'll talk more about the books next time you're on. But give me a little quick one on the book.
It's coming out. Role Players. It will be out. Make sure they tune in to Family Business. That's going to be out. And we're just having fun, man. So I appreciate you having me on the show, John. I look forward to coming back. I got to come back from all my Dog Pound, MSG, New York fans out here that's barking. Know what time it is. It's Dog Pound.